So I got an email from the CEO of chess.com, which is a really big online chess website, and they wanted me to look at the statistics of some issues related to cheating in online chess. Nowadays, computers are much better than people, so if you can use a computer to help you, it's easy to cheat at online chess. There were some complaints, including from a former world chess champion who said that certain players were winning so many games in a row that these long streaks must be evidence that they were cheating. And they wanted me to look at the statistics of that. So what I did is I got some data from them about all the results that these players had gotten on chess.com, and I had it search for their streaks and try to find out how unlikely they were. So when I looked at it, I found that this one player in particular, that there were some accusations about, oh, he was winning too many times in a row, he must be cheating. Well, it's true, he had sometimes won a whole bunch of games in a row, so he had some long streaks. But of course, as a statistician, you have to think, well, there's some chance you're just going to get a bit lucky and you're going to win a lot of games in a row. And also, he was a very good player, so he's probably going to win a lot of games anyway. So what I did is use a simple model for the probability of someone to win a game of chess or to tie a game of chess, depending on their rating and the rating of their opponent. And then I looked at these long streaks and I said, okay, he's won some long streaks here, but what's the probability that that would have happened, even if he wasn't cheating? So what I found was, for that particular streak of 46 games in which he'd won 45 and tied one of them, and there were accusations and so on, it was fairly unlikely that he would win that many games. But because his opponents weren't super strong, it wasn't so unlikely. It was about 1 chance in 830 that he would have won those games in a row. So that sounds pretty unlikely. But then when you think that he's been playing on chess.com for about 10 years, and he's played over 57,000 games, well, maybe it's not that unlikely that some of the time he would win a whole bunch in a row. So when I looked at that, I found it wasn't that unlikely. And I looked for other streaks too, and I found he had 2 streaks which were less likely than that. They were each something like 1 chance in 10,000 that he would have won all those games in a row except for maybe tying one. That seemed really unlikely. But again, I said, well, with such a long history of playing on the site, actually, it's not that unlikely that it would have happened. And what I found was that just with some simple mathematical analysis, breaking up his long history into blocks, I could prove that there was more than a 10% chance of those streaks happening just that way. But then also when I ran computer simulations to get a more accurate probability, I found it was something like a 43% chance that he would have a streak that seemed so unlikely over the course of playing so many games. So there was one other thing I looked at, which is that in the case of this one player, he actually had 2 different streaks which each had probability roughly 1 chance in 10,000. One of them was about 1 chance in 9,000 and something, one of them 1 chance in 11,000 and something. And either one of those, as I say, had at least something like a 43% chance. But then I said, what's the chance he would have 2 such unlikely streaks over the course of his 10-year history? And that was somewhat less likely, but still not too unlikely. And when I did computer simulations, I found there was something like an 18% chance that he would have 2 such unlikely streaks. So a little bit less likely, but still really not something that's outside the expected. So overall, I said, you know what, it's not that unlikely he'll have so many streaks, so there's no real evidence that there's anything like cheating going on here.